Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben and this is my review for the end of The Effing World Season 2. In the UK, it's a Channel 4 exclusive, but for the rest of the world, it's a Netflix original. The End of the Effing World had 8 episodes for Season 1 and they all run just under half an hour. And when I initially watched it, I wasn't sure what to make of this James and Alicia character. It was almost like they were grooming them into these kind of psycho mini serial killers. It was a very quirky, angsty teenage series, and I wasn't in love with the series, except towards the end, I was kind of. So it took me a while to get into the episodes, but that cliffhanger of season 1 left me going, no, I can't believe you're going to leave it like that. And so if you're here for a review of season 2, then I would avoid this review because you probably need to see season 1 because I'm going to be touching a bit on what happened in season 1. So season 2 is 8 episodes again, and the writer, the creator of the show, has said there's going to be no more. So this is a contained series. We have been waiting 2 years now to watch more and find out what happened in that cliffhanger. Right at the end of season 1, we obviously see James being shot, and we see the aftermath, basically, is this whole series dealing with that. Now, if you've seen a trailer, or if you know anything about, or heard anything about what's happening, you obviously know that James survived. So I don't think that's a spoiler because there would not be much of a season without him. So the relationship is all about how these two, James and Alyssa, are dealing with the aftermath of basically going through a massive trauma. There is this kind of way of... There's this rehabilitation, mentally, physically, but their paths are separate. And then along comes another protagonist, as you see. I don't really want to go into that protagonist without going into any spoilers, but you get this protagonist who is interweaved into the storyline, and you understand why we even need a season 2, apart from answering what happened to those characters and how the story culminates towards the end. And it's a very nice, fitting end. It's not very often we get storylines that are closed off well, and so here we have 2 seasons where the writers obviously knew they were going. It wasn't like Lost where they started off and ended in the middle of nowhere going, let's just make it a dream or something like that. No, this one they had an understanding of what they wanted to do with the characters and the story they wanted to tell. I personally really like season 2 more than season 1. But that's not to say you should watch season 1 or season 2 separately, or just leave in season 1 as it is, because you could almost watch it as a contained story back to back. I personally found that season 2 was much easier to watch, very bingeable. I really like the editing of the storyline of how they take their characters, James and Alyssa, and eventually meet them together and have their worlds clash again. The writing and the dialogue is on point, very similar to season 1, and the editing is very quirky, but I really like the inner monologues of the characters this time. That gives you a snapshot as to what's going on in their world. And it's one of the key things that filmmakers sometimes say to don't do. You have to show, don't tell. But very occasionally you get narrative scenes or inner monologues in some certain shows and movies that it really drives the story, or there's a purpose to it. And I felt like here, the inner monologue of both characters was really a character moment, a character defining piece of architecture that worked well within the scripted storylines, and I loved seeing that come from them. So when you see them acting blankly and they're not showing anything emotionally, you get to hear what's happening inside them, that it really kind of helps you further understand their character. And I think that worked really well for this series. It's not as funny, or I would say the first season was funny in a weird, quirky way. This one still has the quirkiness and the snappy kind of dialogue, but for the beginning first few episodes, you really felt like you were almost watching a bunch of psycho killers on screen. But then you see why and the way they're going. I really liked some of the themes that this series dips into as well. There's real trauma that these characters have to deal with from what has happened in season 1 and just in their own lives. So they're carrying all this baggage, and so they dip into suicidal thoughts, they dip into depression, they dip into what makes a person tick or want to do violence, and it just kind of touches on those areas. It doesn't go very deeply into them, but sometimes you just get a real insight as to the how the writers wanted to show these characters going through these traumatic events. I thought that the main characters there, the three protagonists, really held their own, but they were helped by some of the side characters that just kind of dip in and out and really elevate the series that could have been good but too great. And I think season two, like season one was good, but I think season two is great. So easily watchable. The tone is slightly different. I feel like this is darker, but it had a real aspect of what they wanted to do with it. I don't think the cinematography or lighting or anything there's anything to like stands out and goes, this is amazing. I do think it's well shot. I do think the cinematography is good. I don't think it's brilliant. I think what stands out in this series is the acting and the dialogue and the story. Those three things are fantastic in this. And if you like season one, I think you're gonna love season two. They really have taken what happened in season one and taken the effects of that and then put it into season two. And so yeah, I was thoroughly entertained by this. Where I wasn't sure about this series, I wasn't sure what they were trying to do in season one and until the latter half of season one. Now I love it and I think it's brilliant. So I'm going to give this a strong A. Let me know in the comments below, were you excited this? Do you even remember it? Because it's been a long time. It's been 2 years since we've been waiting for this series. Did you watch it on Channel 4 or are you from around the world where you're watching it on Netflix? Let me know if you've enjoyed this series and if you found it as entertaining as I did. Obviously, I'm not the key demographic, I don't think, but I think they are skirting around, well, it's not just for young teenagers. I think there's a real dark themes that everybody could relate to. It's in some point of their lives or the characters around it. And I related to some of the stuff, but I was more entertained by the structure and the dialogue of the storyline, and I was gripped to, I wanted to know what was going to happen. Which is great. It didn't ever let me go, really. Yeah. I think that the length of each episode helps as well. There's no wasting, there's no padding. You just kind of get stuck into it. The show gets stuck into it. It doesn't wait for you to kind of ask those questions. It shows you what's going to happen, and then you are along for that ride. There's no padding, which I really like. Sometimes in these hour-long episodes with these like 10-hour-long series or 20-hour-long series, there's so much padding, and I just think sometimes you can cut a lot of that out. And here, true to BBC's series sometimes, where they just do like 6 to 8 episodes, and this one is like 25 minutes. They've really just given you everything you needed to chew on. Even the dialogue feels light at times, but the dialogue you do get is good. So yeah, less is more sometimes, I guess. Yeah, do chat to me in the comments below and let me know what you thought about this series. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.